Hey, so I wanted to make a video about what I'm eating. I made some smoothies today: water, dates, and lettuce. I really like dates because they're really dense in carbohydrate calories, which are really essential. And I think that there's a big problem in our society and our culture with our species at this current point in history, along with war and poverty and hunger and all these kind of kind of atrocities and you know the consumerism and the problems with the political system and the economic system, etc. There's another big problem. It's carbohydrate deficiency. I'm dead serious about this. Like, I think that the diets that are popular now are very deficient in carbohydrates. Just in the same way that the economics systems are extremely, deficient and bottom up, inefficient. Excuse me. And so, anyway, the dates can really help to alleviate that problem. They also happen to be really dense in minerals relative to other fruit, which makes them, I think, a very critical addition to a kind of raw food style diet. I don't eat all raw food, but I eat mostly raw food. And you know what? Eating a little bit of cooked food helps me stick with it. But mostly what I'm after is those carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are unique. Out of the three macronutrients, I think that carbohydrates are unique. Protein, once you get enough protein, while it is really handy to have around, everyone knows it helps repair your muscles. A lot of people probably know that it helps you digest food. It helps, the amino acids help catalyze the enzymes. The amino acids, they help catalyze chemical reactions critical to your homeostasis. And fat is really important for creating protective layers over your cells, creating protective layers over your nerve endings. So that's why EFAs are so critical. But what's similar between fat and protein is that once you get enough of it to perform the functions that it has, if you have any more of it, it doesn't do anything. You can store fat, but of course most of us don't really want to store too much fat, right? I mean, do you? I'm not even going to talk about that, the health implications of storing too much fat. It doesn't matter. Like, we know how much fat we want to store. It's not much. I mean, for me personally, probably a lot of you, it's not much. Protein storage is kind of, I actually don't know too much about it, but my kind of basic knowledge of it is that it's, you don't really want to eat excess protein. It doesn't store. It putrefies because it's literally just, amino acids. It's just acids kicking around in your body, nowhere to go. A lot of people report, and these are protein eaters, report it makes them stink, things like this. Carbohydrates are unique and special because once you get enough of them to perform your functions, well, now you can kind of decide, well, I could stop eating carbohydrates, but maybe I'll have a little more. What happens when you do that is you get to store energy in your muscles in the form of glycogen, which is really handy. Or you could decide to just be energetic and use that extra energy. The more carbs you eat, the more energy you can have. That's different than fat and protein. At a certain level, it's just impossible to use as much fat and protein as some of these people are eating. And as some of these people advertise as diets, it's like there's no way you could actually need that much fat and protein. Carbs are unique, though. Like, you can just eat more and more and more carbs, you'll just have more and more and more energy. So that's why I do the dates, man. That's why I love to do the dates. And when you eat enough calories, you don't feel like crazy, like you have to eat cooked food or anything. And that's what I see a lot of people say is that I can never live without my cooked food. I can never live without my cheese or whatever. I eat cooked food too, by the way. I use cooked food to make sure that I have enough carbohydrates. And by purposefully incorporating relatively small amounts of cooked food into my diet, I'm able to keep myself mentally and physically prepared for consuming nothing but, or consuming mostly just fresh plants, which of course are the most easy to digest, and most efficient to digest at least, and best for you in terms of micronutrient content and macronutrient ratio. And hydration and fiber content, all these things. You really want to eat the fresh plants. So anyway, I guess I'll just conclude by saying that carbohydrates are very important. Eating a lot of fresh plants makes you feel really, really good. And finding some kind of limiting carbohydrates is a bad idea. Okay? You should always approach your diet by finding out what's too much. You should find out what's too much before you find out what's not enough. If you know what it's like to have not enough, it's not pretty. Okay? Having too much, that's just America. That's just getting high off food. And, I would rather get high off food than get low off food. You know what I'm saying? So definitely find your upper limit first. And then, once you're there, then you get to decide what you eat. Unless you're like crazy addicted to certain types of food for various reasons. And that's obviously going to take some work, but always what's going to be important is to continue to eat a lot, such that you aren't too hungry to make your own decisions. Your hunger doesn't control you. You don't freak out and eat everything in front of you because you're not hungry. That's because you ate enough for breakfast. And the reason you were able to decide intentionally what to eat for breakfast is because you ate enough for dinner the night before. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks for listening. Everyone has like all these beautiful talents and qualities, and together we all kind of form a rainbow. And right now maybe a lot of us are feeling like the rainbow is kind of tilted more into the red side of the spectrum, and maybe we're feeling like, hey, maybe we want a little bit more of the violet side of the spectrum, or maybe we're missing certain colors. But in any case, I think, with a lot more carbohydrates and fresh plants, everyone can try to, balance out, and we can see the whole rainbow here. And I love you guys. I'll see you again soon.